In this episode, we talk about the rise of an IAS officer in Odisha and why the opposition has raised concerns about him. We also talk about Rahul Gandhi interviewing the former J&K governor Satya Pal Malik. But first, we talk about financial irregularities in building healthcare centers in UP. Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In rural areas across India, primary healthcare centers or PHCs are the first point of contact between the village community and the medical officer. These centers are extremely important for providing basic medical attention to those who need it.
The idea of the PHCs, it was envisaged to provide an integrated curative and preventive health care to the rural population, and the PHCs are established and maintained by the health department.
That's Indian Express's Dheeraj Mishra. He tells us that during the first 5-year plan back in the 70s, the minimum needs program was introduced. And the aim behind this program was to provide certain basic minimum needs and improving the living standards of people.
So that these PSCs were envisaged during that period only, and these are built under that program. So at a primary health center, as the name of the center only suggests, that they can provide you the primary medicine, such as, if somebody has got cold, if somebody has some fever. Not only this, they also do a delivery, and if there is a minor accident, so they will also provide the medicine and proper care.
He says, according to the minimum needs program, a PHC is required to maintain a staff of 15 individuals, in addition to the basic medical facilities necessary for immediate care. Now, in situations where a patient's condition is severe and a PHC is not capable of managing the case, the individual is then referred to a CHC, a community healthcare center. CHCs represent a higher tier of healthcare facilities and are expected to maintain a staff of 25 individuals, including 4 medical specialists.
First, surgeon, physician, and a gynecologist and a pediatrician. It has 30 indoor beds with 1 operation theatre, X-ray, labor room, and laboratory facilities. So these are the kind of facilities that needs to be in a CHC to treat the patients. And if CHCs cannot handle the patient, then they refer you to the district hospital where you will get the treatment like proper ICU, something serious, maybe something related to the neuro problem or something related to the serious kidney problem, something like that.
Dheeraj says that both primary and community healthcare centers directly come under a state's Ministry of Health. The ministry decides where a healthcare center needs to be built and then later awards contracts to various public sector undertakings to actually construct these healthcare centers.
So once the work is assigned to these agencies, they further issue tender and give the contract to the local contractors. For example, a PSC is allotted to be built in Muradabad. And let's say that the developer is Rajki Nirman Nigam. So what they will do, they will issue a tender with their requirements and the local builders, they will apply for it. And whoever will be selected, they will build that building.
Now, the reason we are talking about these centers today is because documents accessed by the Indian Express through the Right to Information Act reveal that in UP, some PHCs and CHCs, which were commissioned as far back as 2005, are still in a state of limbo. According to official documents, 218 primary and community healthcare centers that were commissioned between 2005 and 2023 are far from completion, despite the fact that in many cases, almost 90% of the money allocated to them has already been spent.
One of the very important reason is the financial irregularities. So the documents that Indian Express has accessed, there are multiple notings of the health department on those documents, and they have clearly mentioned it that these centers are impacted by the financial irregularities. So in one instance, the health department notes the building has no doors, windows, and floor is incomplete. So this is about the CHC, which was commissioned in 2006-07, and it is in Evra Katra area in Auraiya.
In this case as well, over 90% of the funds have been spent, but the building still does not have doors and windows. In another instance of a community healthcare center in Pratapgarh, which was commissioned in 2014, the health department notes that the building does not have stairs or a ramp to go from the first floor to the second floor.
So they have built a building, but there is no connectivity. You can't go from first floor to second floor. Another similar thing that affected by the financial irregularities, the doors, windows and electric fixture in building are partially complete. This is about a CHC in Azamgarh, Mohammadnagar. So around 3.2 crores were released for this project and around 96% has been spent, but it's still under construction. There is another case where the ministry says that due to the high expenditure by the construction agency, internal investigation is ongoing, the work is stalled, overhead tank is incomplete, there are no nets, glasses in the window of the main building. There is another interesting one where the ministry says that construction agency is not taking interest in the completion of work. It further says that balance amount of rupees 70 lakhs were released in November 2022, but the construction agency is not taking interest in completing the work. So you can understand, there are various reasons, some of them are like agency is not taking interest. And there is another one that where ministry says that almost the allocated cost for the medical officer's residence has been spent and construction has been done only up to the chair level.
Dheeraj explains that a lot of the financial irregularities, for example, could have happened because of fake slips being generated by the contractors.
Let's say they used 10 quintal of cement, but they showed the slip of maybe 20 quintal of cement. So this is one of the main reasons that has been highlighted by the health department also in their documents, that these things couldn't be completed. Also, there are other reasons such as incomplete wiring, no water supply, unavailability of land, no mesh glass in windows, So these are the main finding of the ministry.
Now, this first came to the ministry's attention back in 2019, when one of the public sector undertakings in charge of constructing these healthcare centers, the Rajkiya Nirman Nigam, recommended that a special investigation team should look into this matter.
So they recommended SIT investigation for their 137 projects. So not all of them are CHC or PSC. There are some other projects also. But most of them were PHC and CSD. They recommended investigation and SIT took over the matter and they investigated. And they have already submitted their report. And a number of officials are under scanner.
And what is concerning is that even though the SIT started investigating this matter in 2019, there have not been any major arrests in the case so far.
But our investigation is important that there are many more such projects which are under financial irregularities, and now the Rajkiya Nirman Nigam is once again in the process of recommending SIT investigation phase 2 for other, many of these projects, they will come under the SIT investigation.
And Dheeraj, at this point, could you tell us when these 218 primary and community healthcare centers were first commissioned?
So in 2005-06, there were 5. In 2006-07, there are 39 that were commissioned in 2006-07. They are yet to be completed. Around 16 years have passed, but still the construction is ongoing. There are 41 projects of 2007-08. There are 13 projects of 2008-09. There are 14 projects of 2009-10. There are 3 from 2010 and 11. Similarly, there are 33 projects of 2020-15. And there are 12 projects of 2016 and, the list goes on.
And you and our colleague Asad Rahman also visited some of these healthcare centers. You write about the 2 you visited in Bishnor. Talk about what you saw there.
So the findings are very, astonishing because, the 2 I visited, so both of them should have been completed by August 23 and now this is September. But their physical progress is still around 60 to 70%. There are a number of things that yet to be completed. So the one I visited, there is one in Bhikkawala. Bhikkawala, there is a village. It is on the Uttarakhand border. So a number of people from that village, they are in some type of force, maybe in army, CRPF. In a way, they are in a force. So the villagers told that, especially a lot of women and children are in the village. If something happened to them, something serious, who will take them to big hospital or the hospital which is around 10-20 kilometers far from the village? So they seriously want that this health center should become operational as soon as possible. But what we found that, the buildings, the residences of medical officer and other staff is still under construction. The main building is, of course, non-operational and there is nothing in it.
And Dheeraj, out of these 218 healthcare centers that have not been completed, 86 are CHCs and 132 are PHCs. Now, do we have a sense of how much money was allocated to them and how much money has been spent already?
So just to add one thing, that in the document that government has said that they have completed the construction of 2 CHCs out of 86, but they are still in under construction. I mean, this would be one of the main reason would be they wouldn't have been handed over to the health department or they are not yet operational. So we'll go by the government figure that 86 of them are under construction. 393.80 crore were allocated for these under construction CSCs. Out of this, 353 crores have been released and 305 crore have been already spent. Means more than around 70 to 80% of money has been already spent on these 86 community health centers and they are still under construction. So this is about CSC. Now, if we talk about the PHCs, there are 132 of them that are still in under construction. 166.75 crores were allotted for these PHCs and 160 crores have been released by the government till date. And 129.80 crores have been spent by the agencies, by the executive agencies.
Right, and Dheeraj, maybe just to drive the point home, could you explain to our listeners why this is a big deal? Why does it matter that these healthcare centers have still not been completed?
I mean, after the COVID, government, in a way, on multiple occasions, they have said that they will develop a proper and better and very good infrastructure at the village level only so that people do not have to travel all the way to Delhi, Mumbai or some big cities and spend lakhs and lakhs of money. So for this, I would like to share you a story. It's a very recent one. So recently, a group of French tourists went to the Fatehpur Sikri, that is in Agra. So what happened, one of the 61 years old lady, the French tourist, she fell from a structure and the height of that structure was just 6 feet only. It was not on a very high level and she fell from just 6 feet structure and she died. And one of the very main reason prima facie it is that she didn't get the immediate medicine, immediate care, immediate treatment, because when she fell, then somebody at the spot, the Archaeological Survey of India official, they called to ambulance came, and the people who were with that woman, they took her to around 40 kilometer far hospital in Agra, and it took a lot of time. The ambulance came around after 30 minutes of calling. Then they again went around 40 kilometers far from the spot. And till the time they arrived at the hospital, she was dead. She was declared brought dead by the doctors. One of the main reasons that has been identified in this case was that why was she not taken to a nearest hospital, that is primary healthcare center or community healthcare centers. So it's very important. There are some cases where you need very immediate intervention. This happens especially with the accident cases. So the one is the immediate treatment. Second one is not everybody is capable enough to, spend lakhs and lakhs of rupees in the private healthcare. So one of the main reason is, the government is trying, and the main idea behind these health centers are to provide a good care, good treatment at a very cheaper rate. So because the government provide all the medicines free of cost, you get all the treatment free of cost. Maybe sometimes something is not in the hospital, they will say you, okay, no, bring this thing from outside. But other than that, everything is there. So yeah, that is why these centers are very important.
And next we talk about the rise of an IAS officer in Odisha. Earlier this week, the central government approved the voluntary retirement of IAS officer VK Pandian. And just a day later, Pandian was assigned a prominent position within the BJD-led state government. He was appointed the chairman of the state's 5T initiative and the chairman of Nabeen Odisha, a program aimed at pushing rural development. Now, Pandian has been serving as the private secretary to Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik for about 12 years, and he is known for wielding considerable influence within Odisha's corridors of power. According to Indian Express's Sujit Bisoyi, who covers Odisha for the paper, Pandian is now believed to be one of the most influential people in the state.
If we could describe him as a person, VK Pandian originally belongs to Tamil Nadu, and he is a 2000 batch Odisha cadre IAS officer who has started his career as a sub-collector or sub-divisional magistrate in Dharmagad subdivision of Kalahandi district. And then he served as the collector of Mayurbhanj and Ganjam, which is the home district of Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik. So from during his days in Ganjam, he came to the notice of the Chief Minister, following which he has been elevated to the Chief Minister's office and posted as the private secretary to Odisha CM.
Now, Sujit says a big reason behind Pandian's growing influence is Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik's affinity for bureaucrats in the state.
Well, there is a reason. Unlike other politicians, Naveen Patnaik, if he compared to other politicians or other chief ministers, he depends more on the bureaucrats rather than the politicians. So in that way, Patnaik has had many strings of bureaucrats in his office since he assumed the charge of Odisha's CM in March 2000. But no one has ever enjoyed the clout which VK Pandian today enjoying in the corridors of power.
In fact, many believe that the decline of another IAS officer and former aide of Patnaik, Pyari Mohan Mohapatra, ended up paving the way for Pandian's entry into the inner circle of the chief minister.
So it was in May 29th, 2012, when Naveen along with Pandian was in London for some official program. So when the CM along with his private secretary and other officials were in London, there was an alleged coup by Mohapatra, and following which Patnaik had to cut his UK trip. He came back, then he sacked Mohapatra, called him betrayer.
After Mohapatra was ousted from the party, Pandian stepped into his shoes and ended up becoming one of Patnaik's most trusted aides. In this segment, Sujit joins my colleague Rahul Philippos to talk about Pandian's rise, his new role in the state government, and the opposition's criticism.
So Sujit, can you talk about the evolution of VK Pandian and how he has grown to become such a central figure in the state?
It is quite interesting, Rahul, because until 2019, Pandian was a camera shy person. He used to operate from the back office, though he was the brain behind most of the strategies of the state government, behind launching some of the populist measures, but we hardly came to the limelight, and he used to operate behind the scenes. But after 29, there was a paradigm shift in his approach. Once known to be a camera shy officer, took a string of camera persons, camera crews along with his district tour. So this time, why we can say his voluntary retirement is being talked about, because since March this year, Pandian took district visits, which subsequently triggered confidence. He traveled almost every 147 constituencies in the state using the state chopper. And he used to meet with people, waving hands at the people like the politicians do.
Right. And you mentioned his voluntary retirement. Soon after that, he was assigned a pretty important role in the state government. Can you tell us a little bit about that role and what this means for him?
Well, within 24 hours, the state government appointed him as the chairman of 5T transformational initiatives, which they call, and Naveen Odisha, which literally means New Odisha. And Pandian gets a cabinet rank. And Naveen Patnaik had appointed several bureaucrats after the retirement as his advisor, as advisors of some departments. But there is a deviation this time in the case of Pandian. Like, he will operate directly under the chief minister. He will report directly to the CM, and there will be no bureaucratic hierarchy for him.
Okay, and like you mentioned, he's been put in charge of this 5T initiative and Nabi Odisha. Why this role in particular?
So the 5T concept that stands for time, transparency, teamwork, technology leading to transformation. So this concept was introduced basically to overall the administrative apparatus of the state government. So now major schemes of this, almost every department were identified and included under the 5T programs. Then some of the major schemes, some of the top focus projects we can say, like transformation of heritage city Puri into a world-class heritage city, then upgradation of Odisha's oldest medical college, which is SCB Medical College in Cuttack, to a AIMS Plus institutions. Then there are redevelopment of several shrines across Odisha. State government is calling it an initiative. It's an idea. And at this moment, 5T has its footprint in almost every department of Odisha government. So basically, we can say Pandian will have his say in almost every department, and he will continue to enjoy that clout which he used to enjoy as an IAS officer as well. And the second thing, he was appointed as the chairman of Navin Odisha. So Navin Odisha is basically a 4,000 crore schemes meant for rural development schemes. So under which every Gram Panchayat will get at least 50 lakh rupees in the next 2 to 3 months. So this Amo Odisha, Navin Odisha, which literally means it's our Odisha and new Odisha, which the state government is promoting now. This will be implemented under the direct supervision of VK Pandian.
Right. And the opposition has been quite critical of Pandian in the past. Why is that?
Well, oppositions were never talking about Pandian's role until this March, until he took chopper rides to the constituencies to review programs or to announce schemes. But yes, after the way Pandian started operating, visiting constituencies, meeting people, holding rallies and announcing schemes from the dais. So after that, both the BJP and Congress started questioning his style of operation, and also, they filed a complaint with the DOPT seeking action against him. Even in most of the district, wherever Pandian goes, there was protest organized by both the opposition parties. And not only that, I mean, there were voice of dissent from within the Biju Janata Dal, like senior MLA from Khandapada, Soumya Ranjan Patnaik, who is the editor, who used to the editor of Odisha's largest circulated daily Sambad. He was expelled from the party, though the party explained that it was because of anti-people activities for his involvement in financial fraud. But there is no doubt that action against Patnaik was because of his fallout with Pandian, because Soumya Ranjan Patnaik questions Pandian's chopper ride in his editorials.
And Sujit, what exactly is the end game here? What do people in political circles believe is next for Pandian?
So, see, it will be premature to predict the endgame at this moment, but there is no doubt that Pandian is going to play a big role in the ruling Biju Janata Dal. Whether he'll be successor or not, only time will say, and because Navin has never indicated anything on this. And even when in the past many questions were asked to Navin about his succession plan. So that will be difficult. But yes, we can say that Pandian is going to play a big role in the ruling Biju Janata Dal in the days to come. Maybe for that reason he has taken voluntary retirement, because as being a serving IAS officer, he cannot directly interfere in the BJD matters. So in that way.
And in the end, we talk about Rahul Gandhi and Satyapal Malik. Yesterday, senior Congress leader Rahul Gandhi released a video in which he interviewed former JNK Governor Satyapal Malik. During the interview, Gandhi posed a series of questions to Malik on various topics, including the Pulwama terror attack, the farmers' protests, and Gautam Adani. Malik, who was the last governor of JNK before it was downgraded to a union territory, alleged that the Pulwama terror attack was exploited for political purposes by the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party.
आपकी क्या राय है उसके बारे में, पुलवामा के बारे में? पुलवामा के बारे में मैं ये तो नहीं कहता इन्होंने कराया, बट पुलवामा में इन्होंने उसको इग्नोर किया और पॉलिटिकल इस्तेमाल किया अपने लिए, क्योंकि उसमें इनकी.
In 2019, 40 CRPF personnel lost their lives when a suicide bomber from the Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed rammed an explosive-laden vehicle into their bus in Kashmir's Pulwama district. Malik claimed that the CRPF soldiers had requested 5 aircrafts, but their request was denied by the Home Ministry.
4 महीने तक एप्लीकेशन उनकी पड़ी रही होम मिनिस्ट्री में, और 4 महीने बाद वो खारिज कर दी कि नहीं देंगे। तब वो सड़क से चले। इतना बड़ा,
मतलब 4 महीने के लिए वो चले ही नहीं
इसलिए कि वो सड़क से चलना बिल्कुल इनसिक्योर होता है, वो उनके उसमें नहीं है सिस्टम में। लेकिन ये थी कि अटैक हो सकता है। इसके अलावा वो जो गाड़ी टकराई थी वो 10 दिन से घूम रही थी वहां, पूरा आप समझिए कि भरी हुई विस्फोटक से।
वो कैसे, मतलब
The former J&K governor also claimed that both Prime Minister Modi and Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor of India, had told him not to talk about this issue. Malik also weighed in on the ongoing ethnic strife in Manipur and pointed out the government's failure in the state.
तो मणिपुर के बारे में क्या राय है आपकी?
वहाँ मतलब पूरा फेल्योर है सरकार की। चीफ मिनिस्टर जा नहीं सकता, कुछ कर नहीं सकता, लेकिन उसको अभी तक हटा नहीं रहे हैं।
ये जम्मू एंड कश्मीर का भी।
In addition to this, Malik also talked about the farmers' agitation and the need for the implementation of minimum support price as the solution to the farmers' problems. He pointed out that the government had previously promised to implement MSP upon the repeal of farm laws, but had yet to take action on this promise.
क्योंकि अडानी ने बड़े बड़े गोदाम बना दिए, फसलें एक दाम पे खरीद ली, अगले साल उनके दाम बढ़ जाएंगे, वो बेचेगा। एमएसपी होगा तो किसान इनको।
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Rahul Philippos and me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.